everyone, welcome once again to AFCON Daily on United and Everything Football. Thanks for joining us all through this series. We are glad to have you every single time. All too soon, the competition is in its final week. Over the weekend, we had the quarter-final games, which has seen some of the teams that have won the competition before, progressing. So you have South Africa, one-time champion. We have Côte d'Ivoire, two-time champions, DR Congo, two-time champions, and then Nigeria, three-time champions, also left in the competition. It's been great. A great competition so far. I mean, this year's AFCON has had everything that you can think of. It's been exciting, it's been great, and we are glad to be serving you a lot more here on AFCON Daily. Thanks for joining us. I have my guest with me. I'll be going for a quick break. When I come back, I would introduce my guest. You would love him. A great guy who would just go into the game, and then we'll see how it happens. So please remember to hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell always, every single time. Join us here on AFCON Daily. We'll be right back. All right, we are back on AFCON Daily, and today I'm joined by a very, very, very special guest, Man Sicho.
Yo, bro.
Sicho, a big man, a huge sports analyst. I don't know. He's a computer guy. He does sports. He does a lot of things. Sicho, what are you?
I'm just me. I just love the sports, and and as I said, I'm a computer scientist as well.
Yeah.
And I'm into construction and building and consultancy. Yeah, so I do a lot of things, but
lot of things. He's a big man. I told you guys.
On social media, I do sports, just sports.
So that's it. Thank you very much, Sicho. Sicho, it's been exciting so far in the Africa Cup of Nations. What's really impressed you the most? In a minute, what's really impressed you the most so far?
Listen, I think the organization and the quality of infrastructure that we've got there. The stadia is amazing. The spectatorship for me has been amazing as well. Yeah. And the fact that the production that is coming to because for the tournament, most people who are seeing the tournaments are in their homes. The quality of production coming into the homes of those who are seen on the screens is right up there with the very best. So I've been very impressed with the quality of football that has been also played, and all the storylines, all the surprises, all the shots and everything. It's been amazing, superb.
That's great. It's great. I was there to experience it, so I really attest to some of the things that you're talking about. It's been amazing. But let's get straight into the games. Let's start with that game. Yes, you know it. That game that got the coach of Mali overheating in the head, where we had to pour water on him. What a game it was. Let's start with that game. Ivory Coast, coming up against all odds, went a man down just before the first half ended, and played the whole of the second half with a man down, went down by a goal. We all thought that it was done. They were going home. Then Samuel Adingra finds the equalizer, goes into extra time, and that dramatic win in the last minutes of that second half of the extra time. What was going through your mind watching that game, Philip?
Listen, it was crazy. It really was. Because if the first 45 minutes of that game was a script to go by, Côte d'Ivoire had no chance of winning the game, or had no chance, in fact, of finding a goal. But as we've always said, football is a funny sport. And for Côte d'Ivoire, the first 45 minutes, I thought Mali suffocated them in the middle of the park. Mali liked to play with the midfield diamond. Yeah. And Côte d'Ivoire's midfield three couldn't cope with them. And they were so very, very sharp and early in closing down spaces and pressing and winning the ball. They missed their penalty, but they dominated that first 45 minutes. And once Côte d'Ivoire went a man down, I think maybe then, it's shocking to say, but it played into the advantage of Côte d'Ivoire and the disadvantage of Mali. Because now, all Côte d'Ivoire had to do was to be cautious, sit back, and then try to hit them on the break. Yeah. And that was Côte d'Ivoire trying to be honest, really expansive. Yeah. But the problem we've seen of this Malian side throughout the whole competition was, even though they can have a lot of the ball, they didn't have a lot of technical ability in breaking down opponents. It didn't matter how compact they were, they just couldn't find little pockets of spaces. And that's what Côte d'Ivoire did. They made it difficult for them to find it. And once the crowd got behind them, it became worse. Then in the last 10 minutes, once he brought on Sebastian Haller and Simon Adingra was playing, alongside him. The two other players playing alongside Haaland.
Yeah.
Samantha Haaland, I should say.
Diakate.
Diakate, the goal scorer, the winner in the end.
Yeah.
Playing alongside the big striker. Once the area balls come, he's knocking it down for them to feed on them. It was one of those things that was causing problems for Mali. And in the end, Cote d'Ivoire got very lucky with the goals they scored.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to say we're well-worked goals. It was about players being in the right place at the right time. And for Mali, it's that one tournament again where they've shown that they don't have the mental fortitude to break down some of the barriers that they confronted them. It was a very, very sad one for them, but for the host Cote d'Ivoire, what a tournament they're having, ups and downs.
It's been great. I mean, seeing how things are going for them. In tournament they had to sack their coach because they played a very horrible group stage competition. They brought in MSFI, former player or a former member of their national team. I felt that they needed someone to invoke the national pride in them, and that's what MSFI has done. But what do you think MSFI has changed in this team?
I think approach, because in the first 2 games of Cote d'Ivoire, in fact, even though they won their first game against Guinea-Bissau, I wasn't impressed because I thought they were very expansive.
Yeah.
And Guinea-Bissau, they didn't need to do too much to try and create some openings. So I just knew that Cote d'Ivoire, if they come up against a very well-organized attacking side, they were going to struggle. And so they lost to Nigeria through the penalty. They barely created. Then against Equatorial Guinea, they were massively exposed. But what Fire has brought to the side is that they are somewhat compact.
Yeah.
They are a lot more compact than they were in the first 2 games. And again, what he also brought in there is maybe a new voice, somebody that, as mentioned, somebody to imbibe the national pride in them, what it means to play for the Ivorian side. Yeah. But I think if you're looking at the approach of the team, Cote d'Ivoire are playing closer, more compact, tighter than they appear to be in the first 2 games. So openings haven't really been there for teams to carve them out.
All right, so that's it with the Ivory Coast and how that game ended. You've just touched on Mali, and they flattering to deceive, or they lacking the mental fortitude to go into games, and I believe so too. Their coach said they wanted to prove a point or they wanted to make people respect them. I don't know which coach goes into such a tournament like that. I mean, the mentality for
me. Who has shown any disrespect or whatsoever?
Nobody.
Just can play football and win.
Can play football and win. It's as simple as that. Well, that's it with Ivory Coast and then Mali. But let's look at that other game, Cape Verde versus South Africa. Hugo Bruce, once again, is steering another team to another semi-final. The last time he was in the AFCON, he won it with Cameroon. He's got into the semi-final. What's been his formula, Sicho?
I think the formula is I like to call it the South African way. This is a typical South African team. They are not overly defensive. They are not overly attacking. Just balanced, quick transition, working hard for each other, playing as brothers. And that's one thing about South Africa when they play this. They always find something to unite them. And the fact that coming into this tournament, they are underdogs. Nobody's giving them the opportunity to be where they are. It's uniting them. But the key thing that Hugo Bruce has done is look around the South African group of players. Mm-hmm. Pick players who are playing together and playing well, and dump them in the South African, the Bafana team. Mm-hmm. And the way they play at the back in Sundowns, the back four with the goalkeeper, it's not very different from how they are playing in the Bafana setup. So it's not like he's brought in the players. Think about the Barcelona team that had a core of it playing for Spain. Yeah. The Spanish team automatically started looking like the Barcelona team. When you look at the way Bafana are playing, and you've seen how Sundowns have played in the last 2-3 years, there are massive similarities. Yeah. So a lot of the players in the Bafana team are playing in their comfort zone, or they are playing in a system that in the local league they've seen and appreciated because it is at the moment the best. And to help him, because Sundowns have been very successful, and some of his important players, in this case, Pesitao, is a winner with Ali. Yeah. He's got winners in the team. Yeah. So their team now come into a tournament that will play well. Like Mali, they play well, but they've not got the mentality. They've not got winners in the side. Mm-hmm. But when you look at the Sundowns group that have come, they are winners. They've won the league. They've won on the continent. Mm-hmm. When you look at Pesitao, the winning character that he brings to the side. Yeah. So these players know what it means to play together and win. And that is why we see the South African team that is not easily crashing out. Yeah. The South African team that is not easily bullied. The South African team that have got the presence of mind to play like winners. And that, for me, it's a very, very good job by Hugo Bruce by putting that together.
Well, that's been a huge job by Hugo Bruce. I mean, we've known him for what he's done with Cameroon and going into what he's doing with South Africa. It's been amazing. Unfortunately, Cape Verde couldn't make, but they've had an amazing run. I mean,
Yeah.
topping their group, a group that had Ghana and Egypt. I mean, getting into the next stage, beating Mauritania, and then qualifying to the quarterfinals after a very, very long time. I mean, they've been great. But let's switch to Nigeria. How are they doing it? Yeah, consider just one goal so far in the tournament, and that was the game against Equatorial Guinea in the first game. And Pissarro seemed to have found a certain formula, a certain way of play that limits the attack of opponents, and then maximize their because coming into this tournament, a lot of people felt that Nigerians were top heavy, top being they were. I mean, up front they were very, very. They had very good players up front to be able to do things for them, but people did not really, I mean, believe in the midfield, and then to some extent the defense that it had. How has Pissarro managed to do this?
I think he's been smart tactically. He really has, and there's a tactical flexibility about the group of players that he got, because in the first game where he played with the 4-3-3 flat, they looked very decent. I thought they were very unlucky not to win that game, and it
They
was
created a
down to
lot of
coaching.
chances in that game.
Yeah, it wasn't down to tactics or coaching. It was purely down to individual players not putting the chance away. And a clear culprit would be Victor Osimhen, who on any day would have been getting a hat-trick in that fixture. So the game plan worked. The execution didn't. Then in the game against Cote d'Ivoire, he realized that one of his most important midfielders who made that midfield tick against Equatorial Guinea, Yusuf Mohammed, was injured. And one of the problems that Nigeria had coming to the tournament was the midfield. And he said the midfield was very light. Yeah. Now, Yusuf was, for me, a revelation. I didn't even know he could be that good, but he was immense. Mm-hmm. But in the game that they knew he wasn't going to play, then he had to be a bit more cautious defensively, but find a way of defending one, and two, in the process, still add an extra body in the midfield. Yeah. So what he did was to play with the back three, at times a back five when they were defending. Mm-hmm. But anytime that they were going to transition or have the ball, it would turn into a midfield four, because Said Sanusi and Ola Aina would go forward. Now, this is what is doing a lot of the trick for Nigerian Pissarro. He's got Ademola Lookman, who on top of our minds is a wide player. Yeah. He's got Victor Simon, Moses Simon, who in top of our minds is a wide player. Yeah. He's got Chukwueze when he plays, and Victor Osimhen. But when Nigeria have played, Ademola Lookman and Moses Simon, or whoever plays on the other wing, never play as wingers. Yeah. They actually play very narrow and play in midfield. Yeah. So Nigeria have found a way of dominating midfield when they've won the ball from the back, because they become a four. So Onyeka, Iwobi are the two base, and then you have those who are supposed to be wide in Moses Simon and Ademola Lookman coming very narrow to form the next block of midfield. So there's always a box, and Osimhen is a handful. So he does the job afterward. So that midfield box helps in their transition. It helps in protecting the midfield space and forcing teams to go wide. And when teams have gone wide, Sanusi is great when he's defending 1v1. Ola Aina is great when defending 1v1. So they've always loved their teams to go wide. And in central areas, when they've got the ball, they are so sharp and they are so quick. So I think it's the quick chemistry that he's built in that wide players playing very narrow around Osimhen. And the fact that Osimhen is selfless and not under pressure to score, but doing a bit. And finally, to Nigeria, I think they are showing me some similarities in the attitude and application of France in 2018 and what they are doing. We saw France; they were not flamboyant. They were solid defensively. Giroud wouldn't even score the goals. Mbappe, Griezmann would score, but they were very solid at the base, and they would get the goals going. And that's what Nigeria are doing: being solid and being pragmatic. But their front line is so sharp; they don't need too many chances to finish.
I wish we had time to go into that Congo game, but they did very well beating. They won their first game in the competition in the round of 16, beating Guinea by 3-1. I thought that game was going to be very, very tight. But somehow it became an open game that saw Congo.
Listen, it's simple. It's so simple. Guinea are blunt up front. They are just blunt because Girassi wasn't fit. So in the end, in midfield they were good, but up front they had nothing.
They were nothing. So therefore, I mean, we saw how DR Congo were able to get. They have a very good team. I mean, Johan Wissa, Leah, Chancel and Bemba. They've got Cedric Bakambu. What's
Yeah.
the left back?
Takuta.
Atam Masuaku. I think
Masuaku
Phil
is great.
Kaputa. I mean, they have a very good team in there. So
Yeah.
so I'm not so surprised that
Wan-Bissaka could have been playing for them,
easily. I hear he still hasn't switched the
Yeah. Wan-Bissaka
nationality
could have
yet.
been.
But we are seeing how
Yeah.
it's going to go with regards to that. All right, Philip, I'm giving you the chance. Who is going to the final?
And listen, I think Cote d'Ivoire will be there, and I think Nigeria will be there.
We'll be looking forward to that. Thanks very much, Philip, for joining us on AFCON Daily today. We really appreciate your time with us. Remember to hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell. Please remember to leave a comment, like, share if you really enjoyed this episode. I know you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be back tomorrow with another episode of AFCON Daily here on United and Everything Football. Thanks very much. Have a great time.